Hey guys, and welcome to Tea and Talks for today. Today we have with us Amy Williams, who's going to be talking about the law of cause and effect. So whatever you put out into the universe is what you get back from it. So Amy Williams is a pranic healer and an Arhatic yogini actually, which she can explain a little bit more about what those things mean and what she does in a moment. But basically what we're going to be talking about is going to have huge impacts today on your life. So if you want better for your life, but you just don't know, how do I do it? How do I transform my life? How do I get more peace, more joy, more happiness, and just more like quality of life, confidence, you know? If you want to know how to do that, but you're like, how do I do it? Then today is the day to be listening in. Amy's going to be talking about some things that are going to have impacts on your health, your energy, how much sleep you get at night. I mean, it has very specific ramifications, your relationships, your finances. There's a quote that I read this week that says, life is not happening to you, life is responding to you. And the premise behind that is that, you know, if you put out anger, you're going to get anger. If you put out joy, you're going to get joy. If you put out anxiety, you're going to get back anxiety. If you give money, you are going to be given too. If you help other people's relationships, your relationships are going to get better too. So this is the kind of idea that Amy's going to be talking about today. And some of you may disagree with some parts of what she says, or maybe even some words that she uses like karma, and you don't really know what that means. But just I encourage you, and I always encourage the people who used to go to our gatherings every week here in town, take what will help you, take what makes sense to you, and just leave the rest, you know. We always try to encourage people not to discard the whole thing, but to find what it is that can help you, the nugget in every situation, the wisdom or the insight that rings a bell with you and makes sense, okay, with your perspective and your beliefs. So keep that in mind as we talk today, and Amy's going to be explaining a little bit about how this idea of reaping and sowing is found in multiple religions, and doing unto others as you do unto yourself is found in multiple religions. So we're just going to uncover that more and really sort of like find out how you can take back your life and make it a life that you want to live. So without further ado, here is Amy Williams, and she'll be explaining what it is that she does, and then just delve right into it. So welcome, Amy.
I'm owner of Be Radiant Inside and Out. I'm a pranic healer and Arhatic yogini. I do coaching with people to help them use energetic principles in their daily lives to get more of what they want out of life. Today we're going to talk about the law of karma. So most of us are more familiar with the law of karma as the golden rule. And if you do a quick Google search and you do golden rule and religions, you will find that there are posters and all kinds of different things that show that the golden rule is actually part of all major religions. And it is presented in two different ways, but the most optimal way of utilizing the golden rule is to put both of those two ways together into one solid rule. So in some religions, they talk more about good works and goodwill and doing what you want to do to others. You know, what you want to have done to you, do to others. And in other religions, they talk more strongly about don't do to others what you don't want to have done to you. So the best way to do it is to put them both together. Do what you want to come back to you. Don't do what you don't want to come back to you. And while it seems very simplistic, it's really important to put them both together. Because if you just focus on one aspect, you're really losing another huge part that can help you be more in control of cultivating good karma and no longer accumulating negative karma. So a lot of times we think of karma as like this sort of thing that's out there, just kind of like waiting to get us, right? Like, oh, something goes wrong, and we're always like Karma, but it's just like Jessica was saying, you know, life is not happening to you. What did you say exactly?
Life is responding to you.
It's responding to you. So it really intimately affects our daily lives. And by becoming more aware of the law of karma and some of the principles that go with utilizing it, you can actually put it into work for you instead of feeling like it's something that's out to get you. So think about it like gravity. If you want to put a plane in the air, you have to understand the law of gravity. And if you don't utilize it properly, it just falls out of the air, right? You're not using it correctly. So if you continue to, throw an apple up in the air and it hits you in the head and you're just like, I don't understand. Why does this apple keep hitting me in the head? I'm throwing it up, because you're not aware of it and you're not using it correctly. But if you know, hey, I really don't want to carry this really heavy thing down this flight of stairs, and I know gravity will help to slide it down if I want it to, you can utilize that, right? So that's all we have to think about with the law of karma is how can we take this universal law and how can we use it best in our lives to get what we do want, and also to help alleviate when we get things that we necessarily feel shouldn't be happening to us, right? Because that's what it is. Anything that you're getting back at some point in time, the karma has accumulated and it's coming back. So some of the ways that we do this is by first generating good karma, and second, alleviating and stopping to create more negative karma or bad karma. We have to think about giving and receiving. What are you giving out? What do you want to receive in return? So there are different ways that you can cultivate good karma. So let's start with that. When you want to cultivate good karma, it's like a bank account. So when you do good work, when you do to others what you want to do, and you refrain from doing to others what you don't want done to you, you fill up your bank account. Okay? So let's say, you want to take a vacation. You have to make sure that you've put the money in savings, or that you're going to earn enough to be able to make that withdrawal to pay for the plane tickets and everything else that you're going to need on that vacation. It's the same thing with this. So you have to be putting in to be able to take back what you want. At the same time, if we think about the laws of giving and receiving, if I put these things in my hand, what can I receive right now? So I'm holding on too tightly, I don't have room to receive. If I have nothing in my hands, what do I have to give? So you have to work with that flow of that give and that take, the giving and the receiving. And the more we can apply that on a daily basis, the more we create an energetic flow in the universe that begins to work with us and help us along, as opposed to it just popping up out of nowhere. We're not really sure like where it came from or what we need to do with it. Right? We feel more like, oh my gosh, this just happened. I have no idea what happened. Or, oh wow, I just got a windfall and I wasn't expecting that. So in giving, you want to give in correlation to what you want to receive. So if you want to make sure that your family is always fed and provided for and taken care of, then you need to find ways that you do that for other families. So that can be, as an example, going to a soup kitchen and helping to serve meals. By doing that, you put a deposit in that karmic bank account, okay? So by giving what you want, you become entitled to receiving that same thing. It puts you more in control of it. So when we focus more on what it is we really want, get really clear about what it is you want, and find a way that you can help anyone else get that, and you will become more entitled to that. And this is a part that kind of gets left out with the golden rules. We think, well, just do good things. that's great. Do good things. But if you're somebody who really needs a financial increase and you're always doing acts of service, you're entitled to acts of service. And that's not always what we want in return. Or if you really need help finding an appropriate home, but what you're helping people with is helping educate people, then you have more karma built up around the idea of becoming educated than you do around a house. So that's not a bad thing. You shouldn't stop doing the other good things. You know, in pranic healing, we say a good rule is 3 hours of service a week as a minimum baseline. You should be doing at least 3 hours of service every week if you really want to start taking control of this and building up that good karma. So you focus on what it is that you want. And like I said, be really clear about it. If you don't know what you want, that's where you need to start. You need to start getting clear about what you want to receive, where you want to go with your life, and how you need to get there. So it could be small things, like let's say you want to open a new business and you want to use the law of karma to help you be as successful as possible in doing that. You want to make sure that you are putting your energy, because we're constantly putting out energy. Right now, I'm putting out energy doing this chat, right? But that energy could be put somewhere else. I could be using it towards writing a blog, or I could be using it towards washing my dishes. Wherever you put your energy is where you're going to get the return. If I wash dishes, the return is I have clean dishes, right? If I write a blog, then people read the blog. If I do this, but I expect my dishes to get done, it doesn't work that way, right? So you have to put your energy in where you want to receive. And if you aren't clear about it, then it's not going to come back in as clear of a way. So so going back to the business, you want to start a business, right? So you know, like, I want to have a bakery, and I want to get to having a bakery, and now there are all these steps in between, right? So one thing you can do, support somebody else who has a bakery, or someone else who's trying to open a bakery. You know, you see they're having their grand opening, be like, hey, can I help you in any way? Is there anything, do you need stuff stocked in your back room? You know, and then go eat there, support that business, promote that business. What you are giving out is what you want to receive. Maybe you're not there yet. You don't have to get all worked up in the idea of competition, like, oh, I can't have anything to do with any other bakery because I'm opening my own bakery. Well, that's not going to work for you, because then your bakery is going to be really isolated and by itself, because that's what you're doing with your energy, right? So there are all these steps along the way to opening a business. Like, you have to write a business plan. Maybe you're not great at it, but you know somebody else who's writing a business plan, and you're like, hey, can I buy you coffee while you're working on your business plan and help you? Is there anything that I can do to make you writing your business plan go better for you? So now you've created good karma around this business plan that you have to write. So as you sit down to do yours, you're more entitled for it to be easy, for it to not be as interfered with. So just take that through each little step. What do I have to do? So if you want a healthy relationship, help other people around you have a healthy relationship. If you really want to have time with your significant other, and you have kids and you're busy or whatever, help another couple who's having the same issue, and you watch their kids, and before you know it, they're probably going to offer to watch your kids, right? It doesn't always have to be an immediate business transaction where it's like, I'll do for you, you do for me. But by putting it out there, you entitle yourself to having that received. But it's where you focus your energy. You can plant seeds all over the place, or you can, really focus on what you want your crop to be, right? So one of the things we say a lot in pranic healing is, plant seeds for what it is you want to reap. Another pranic healer that puts out videos a lot. I really enjoy his stuff. Christian Long, he always says, if you want mangoes, you have to plant mango seeds, right? So you don't plant corn and then expect to get mangoes. And that's what we do when we kind of just leave it as a blanket statement of generally saying, do good deeds. Well, you're kind of like just going, you know, and grabbing like a handful of random seeds and just throwing them everywhere. And then you're going, I really needed broccoli and there's no broccoli here. Like, why do I have corn and why do I have carrots and and then you get a little bit of carrots and a little bit of corn and a little bit of this, but what you really needed was broccoli, right? So you have to focus your energy. If you want a bunch of broccoli, you have to plant a bunch of broccoli. Is that making sense? So what are ways that we actually cultivate good karma? So one, I said service, doing for others, giving to others what you need to entitle yourself for that to come back. So if you need service done, do service. If you need a physical item or you need an education or something that's really like a specific type of thing, find a way to help with that. If you have medical issues and you can't afford your bill, or maybe you just have expensive treatments that are ongoing, or you just want to be entitled to good health, help someone else with their health. So if one example is in the Philippines, it's not like here in America. Like here, if I fall down and collapse someplace, they're going to take me to the hospital and I'm going to get treatment. They're going to make sure I'm okay. And then they're going to send me the fat bill. In the Philippines, you have to pay in advance for your treatment. So if you were to, one way that you could, you know, cultivate good medical karma is if you find some place like that, and that's like a really immediate return on karma too. So you call up the Philippines hospital and you say, hey, listen, here's $500. The next person who walks in and can't pay their bill, and you could say, like, let's say you specifically have a broken leg, or you specifically have cancer, or whatever it is. You can say the next person who needs treatment for this, I'm putting this towards their bill. That helps that person immediately. That's immediate good karma. You know exactly that your money has gone to provide medical care to a person. Whereas if you donate to organizations, yes, you generate good karma, but how much of your dollar really gets to that person before it has to pay for the people who organize the nonprofit organization and their promotional materials and everything else that goes into having that organization. So the deeper you go with this, you can get really smart with it. So anytime you're really helping specifically immediately a person, you're going to get more good karma from that than if you're just giving to organizations who do that too. But if you're more comfortable, you know, go ahead. So a lot of times what comes up is people wonder about other people being deserving. And, you know, you see somebody on the street and you can tell, like, they're just waiting for that $5 so that they can go buy drugs or alcohol. It really doesn't matter what that person does with it. Your act is what's important. You gave to help somebody else, and you don't really know that person's story. Like, don't get caught up in the judgment about that person or their life or anything else. If you are concerned about it, like let's say you have a family member who wants an education, but you're like, I don't know if you're really going to use the money for that. And you can find other ways, like pay it directly to the school or do things like that. So if you have concerns about how people are going to use things, you know, you can find creative ways around it. Don't let that keep you from giving, because the important thing, you know, like with the things in my hand, is not hoarding your resources. The important thing is to create that flow and that giving so that you become entitled for more. So that as one hand gets empty, it's filled back up and you keep going back and forth. That's the giving and the receiving that you want to create in your life to optimally work within this law of karma in this way. So we covered service. Another thing you can do is a lot of people use prayer to bless other people. or you can use meditation or things like that. So other ways when you are asking, like let's say you don't have anything to give in that area, or you can't think of anything to give in a way to receive what you want in return. You can send blessings to other people. They can be verbal, it can just be in your heart, but it's a way of pushing energy towards what you want, which is essentially what we're doing. We're working within energetic laws through the law of karma, and we're utilizing it all together to bring back to you what you most want and need. And of course, don't do things to other people that you don't want happening to you. If you don't want someone to be judging the way you live, don't judge the way other people live. If you want people to be giving with their resources, be giving with your resources. If you don't want people to say that they can't help you when they really can, don't tell other people that. So it's twofold. Don't create what you don't want, and do create what you do want. Putting energy towards it as an energetic bank account to get back when you're ready to withdraw. Do you have any questions right now, Jessica?
I was just thinking what you just said with judgment. I've been practicing this lately. Well, actually, you didn't say it was judgment. You said, or maybe you did. Anyway, you said like whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. And so if you, like for me, it's like I've been sort of like judging and analyzing myself a lot, and I decided I don't want to feel that anymore. And so I stopped, or at least like tried to sort of like be aware of when I judge or when I'm being critical of either myself or other people. How does this apply to, I know you mentioned something on Monday about how like when you express something, you actually have to feel it first. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes. Okay, so in Buddhism, they talk about how once you see everyone as being one and whole, then you don't do harm to others, because doing harm to others is really harm to yourself. So whether you're Buddhist or believe that or not about oneness, another way to really look at this, how doing harm to others actually really hurts ourselves, is not only does it generate negative karma, which you want to be doing acts to not generate negative karma, right? That's one of the twofold parts of the golden rule, is that on an energetic level, anything that you give, you first receive. So it's a very immediate return in some ways. So you help someone and you feel great about it, right? You're like, oh, like, I love that. Like, that person was so happy. As you gave, as you had that loving moment, that compassionate moment, it first has to pass through your body, your energy, before it ever gets to anyone else. So if you, and what's the saying about anger is like holding a hot coal and expecting it to burn someone else, or resentment, or whatever, however the quote is, it's the same thing. You hurt yourself before you hurt others. It has to come out of you. It has to pass through your physical, mental, emotional, energetic being, because it's generated within you. So if it's generated within you and it's passing out through all of you before it ever gets to anyone else, you are the first person who experiences anything that you're giving to anyone else. That's why it feels so good to be of service. It feels so good to love other people, and why it feels so crappy to be angry and judgmental. So you can use that as a gauge too, as you feel things, and it doesn't matter who's receiving. It's kind of like I said about, donating to somebody on the street or whatever. You're not sure how they're going to use it. It's what's going on through you. That's your primary concern. What are you doing through you? And then if you want to take it a step further, how is what you're doing helpful outside of you? So I know people are really upset about some of the things that are happening in the world right now. I don't need to go into details about it. I know some people try to avoid news, but there are things where people are doing things that hurt other people. And if we listen to the media, and if we listen to Facebook and people who get really worked up, we might think, well, I need to be angry at them. I need to be unforgiving. I need to be resentful, right? Like, that's not okay. That we can't be okay with those people. But the problem is that as you create this, I'm not okay. And I'm not saying, a lot of it's reactionary, right? A lot of it is we're reacting instead of responding. We hear something, we have a gut reaction, we don't like it, it becomes an emotion, which becomes, an action. We don't like those people, right? But that's going to go through you before it ever gets to them. You sitting in your house hating that person because of what they did is hurting you before any of that energy or anything's ever going to get to that person. So who are you really destroying? Who are you really punishing for those acts? By being not forgiving to the people who do things like that, you have to live through the not forgiving, not them, unless it's someone you see all the time. But even so, even if they are living through it, you're living through it. So one of the best ways that you can help yourself is to learn more about forgiveness techniques, so that you start to really realize that forgiveness is not about other people, it's about you. What do you want to carry? What do you want inside of you? What energy do you want coming out that you have to experience, no matter what it does outside of you? Do you want to have a compassionate, loving experience in your life? Do you want to have an angry experience in your life? Do you want to have a judgmental experience in your life? So by being more in control of our energy, we can not only see how things are, affecting outside of us, where we become aware, what do other people need? What can I do for them? How is, when that person says that, what is that coming from them? But also the mindfulness aspect of, what does it do inside of me? What part is me, and where am I in control of that? And that's why learning to utilize energetic principles with, universal laws like the law of karma can really set you up better for, creating the life that you want to have and not feeling like life is happening to you. So a good example of this, and back to, generating good karma, is you want to think about how you want things to come back to you, and whether or not you're using up that energy in other ways before it gets a chance to. So I saw a post through my Facebook, and someone was very upset, and they were saying that if you help homeless people, but you take a picture of yourself doing it, and you post on social media, and you get a bunch of praise for it, that it makes you a terrible person. I can see where they're coming from and why they feel that way. However, in my line of work with energetic principles, I disagree. I would say that the act itself was worthwhile. Somebody benefited from that. Somebody ate that would not have eaten. Somebody had clothing. Somebody had whatever they needed that they would not have had, which is their good karma returning to them. This person also generated good karma by doing the giving. However, they chose an immediate return of praise over allowing that good karma to accumulate in their karmic bank account so that they could pull it out for when they really needed it later. And sometimes you do that, right? Like if you're trying to build up your social media, or that's what you want, then do that, But if that's not what you want, and every time you give and every time you're of service, you make sure everyone knows about it, then you're already cashing in that good karma in the form of praise.
I was just thinking how, like, let's say you give expecting a return. So let's say, so with you and some other girls last week, I took you guys out and we took pictures, right? So let's say my goal was like, oh, I'm going to take pictures for them and their businesses and so forth so that they will, do the same for me, or so that they will do something good for me later.
Mhm.
If that is my mindset about it, does the karma sort of like not work? Do you stop the flow of blessing in your life because your intentions aren't really pure?
No, and that's actually exactly what I'm teaching you to do. I'm teaching you to give with an idea of how you want it to return to you. So be intentional in your giving so that you're more intentional in your receiving. So there's nothing that we ever do there is no true altruism, in my opinion. I mean, we give because we have big hearts and we're loving, but if you think about it, it immediately passed through you first. So you providing an act of service, you're immediately passed through you. You want to feel good. You want to have these things happen. So you're always expecting something in return.
Yeah.
Always. There's no way to not expect something in return. Now, if you're really specific about what you want in return, that may not always happen, unless you know other ways to really specify that return, which, I mean, if anyone wants to set up a session with me, I can teach you those, but that's not really something I'm going to go into too much right here. I'm more focused on how you can give with that coming back in the way that you want. But there are other techniques, that I practice through what I learned through, my system with Master Choa Kakusui and everything that he taught to be more in control of that. But this is a more basic today.
I love what you had said about like if you meet a homeless person or something like that, and you might wonder, because a lot of people wonder this. I've talked with a lot of people, and they're like, I don't know if I should give or not because they might use it for drugs or they might use it for alcohol, and that's not good for them. So then I'm not doing something that's actually good for them, and so then they don't give. And I'm saying they, but this is how I think.
The grand they, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking, well, you kind of mentioned that, and this is what I liked about what you said. You said that what you get back, your return is immediate. You get something immediately. So like, I was just thinking how if you give to somebody, a lot of times we think, oh, we need to give to other people because we need to help them, or because it's good for us to do that because people need us. But from what I hear you saying, it's kind of like, well, yeah, in part that may be true, but the biggest thing is that when you're giving, you're actually transforming your own self. Would you say that's correct, or like how would you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there are always people who need things, and that's part of why, giving works. If everyone had everything they ever needed, you wouldn't need to give and receive, right? Everything would and that would really be a state of everyone being in a perfect alignment with the law of karma in giving and receiving, because the only way for that to happen would be everyone's giving and receiving perfectly all of the time. But we don't live in that world. So there are always needs. So what you can do to be empowered is, if you're, if something's really important to you, if it really touches your heart and you feel like I need to be of service there, then do that. There's clearly an underlying reason for that. But one of the people I also like, Matt Kahn, what he says is, you'll know where you need to be and what you need to be doing to help others because it will be right in front of you. If you need to feed someone hungry will be in front of you for you to feed. So we don't have to like worry in these grand ways about these problems that we have to solve. You just solve the problems in front of you as you go. Help as you can help, as just what's in front of you. Like if you're sitting around worrying about what's happening on the other side of the world and you're not actually doing anything, if you're worried about homeless conditions, if you're worried about child labor, whatever it is, but you're just sitting around worrying about it, you're not really helping and doing anything. So if you pass a person who needs help and you don't help them, are you truly in an altruistic state of giving and loving and caring and doing what you should be doing, or are you in a state of worry and judgment? So which one did you feed? Did you?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question because I have helped approximately 700 businesses to be successful. I have helped like maybe like 300 kids to get their act together financially, emotionally. When I was in college, I helped people like every day at two, three people to like have better relationships.
Hmm.
So it, this way, I should be the best relationship person and the wealthiest person because the amount of money that I had generated for people, sometimes 20, $30 million, right? So I should have $1 billion. Why don't I have that then? Because if the
Bec-
karma of the law worked, then all those stuff should be coming to me.
okay, so here's the other thing. When you accumulate good karma, unless you also intend for it to come back to you in certain ways, it comes back generally as spiritual development. I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but it will come back in other ways. So unless you are really specifying the energy, which is something that you can learn through Kriya Shakti, is how to do that, it's not going to always come back to you exactly what you want. But are you educated in the way that you want to be educated? You helped people with education, you help people get their act together. Do you feel like your act is together, or that that's
Yeah,
come
but
back to your
no,
family?
like financially, I have like bought houses for people. I had given like 10,000, and I have expected it to come. Sometimes I would like without even expecting I would give. So I would say
Mhm.
because I give, I should get this in return, right? But it has not come, although I have been manifesting it.
Did
So
you did
either
you did you give more money or more education?
I have given all of them money, education, resources, and made people very rich, right? So if that
Mhm.
has happened, sometimes I have thought like, okay, since I'm giving this, I need something back. Sometimes I thought maybe that doesn't work, so I don't expect anything, right? Either way,
Mhm.
it has not come back. So why is that?
Well, Sharona, we would have to like really sit down and get into exactly where you've given and what you want to come back. Sometimes part of it is we're still attached to it and we haven't cut ties with it. Like if we feel owed, then we're actually carrying it as a debt that someone owes us, as opposed to if, we've completely given and we're just like, we've cut ties with it and it's gone. Like if you let somebody borrow money from you and you're expecting it in return, then it isn't really, it's still just carrying a debt there. So one way that you can speed that up is to make sure that all of those things that you have given that you have or that you ever felt were debts have been forgiven. Because the more you're holding on to that, like it creates a blockage energy.
I had never asked those
But
people to give anything back. Sometimes I gave without even thinking, like, okay, that's theirs, and then sometimes they have even like not appreciated, but I have said like, well, it's good that they feed their children. Now they have a vehicle to drive, and I'm very happy for those people.
well,
So,
part of
but
that
but
is
your predecessor,
what you're giving
your,
money towards. It's not just the money itself, it's what you're giving the money towards. So you gave money for people to have their children fed, for people to have roofs over their head, and you have those things.
hmm no, sometimes
And
even
so,
to have like a successful business to employ 20 people, 30 people, right?
mhm.
So my question is like I think like because you were just saying uh, what you give it'll come back to you, right?
Yes.
I don't think I think what I'm trying to get to is like there's a lot more to it, right? Like just because I
Yeah, I
give
mean
million dollars,
that's not everything. If you just go give
yeah.
someone $20, you're not completely just entitled to it. You also have to take actions that will get there. So if you just give $10,000 to somebody to have a successful business, but then you sit on your couch all day and you do nothing to have a successful business, you won't have a successful business. So the other aspect is you need to be taking action towards what it is you want. If you want an education, you can't pay for someone's education and then just expect to magically be educated. You have to go to that school, you have to read those books, you have to do the homework, you have to turn it in, you have to get that degree or, whatever education you're going towards. So I'm glad you brought that up because the action portion of it is also very important.
And how does it work with like let's say, okay, so let's say I'm every week I'm giving money regularly to
Hmm.
maybe my church or to some people who need it, something like that, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm hoping that I will be able to attract money back into my life, you know?
Yes.
But what if I have blockages with money? Let's say I was raised to think money was evil, and subconsciously I'm always kind of pushing it away. Um, do those blocks that you have affect things too?
It does. It blocks you from being receptive. So, receptivity is something I work with people on a lot because if you're not receptive, it really doesn't matter what's around you. If you haven't cultivated like your inner space to be in a state of gratitude and reception, there if you're walking down the street and there's $100 laying on the sidewalk and you're so caught up in, oh my gosh, money, what am I going to do, how am I going to pay my bills, and you're not in a receptive state of gratitude for what you already have because you're so worried about the lack that you don't have, you're not going to see that $100, right? Like you're so up, you're just focused on all of this, you're not looking around like enjoying the flowers that are right next to that $100 bill that's laying on the ground. So being receptive and is very important too. So it doesn't, so think of it as a bank account. It's still sitting there. So Sharona, all the things that you have done, all the karma accrued from that, it's still sitting there. So if you need it to come back to you, if you want it to come back to you, then you have to learn practices to bring that back to you in a more specific way.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. I'm curious if let's say we've already put something out there. Let's say we just had an
Mm-hmm.
argument with our spouse or our child, and we are feeling bad, and there's this
Mm-hmm.
whole dark cloud in the house of like,
Yeah.
anger and frustration and
I don't
resentment.
even know what you're talking about. I've never experienced anything like that. I
Right.
don't.
um, so what can we do to kind of change or shift what we're
Mhm.
feeling and thus what we continue to put out and just change the whole nature of the relationship at that point once we've already done the crap. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Okay.
And I think you mentioned an exercise before with this. I'd love for others to hear this.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. All right. So one thing that we need to do is while we work very hard to not accrue more negative karma, you still do. You still lose it and you yell at somebody, right? You still see a dollar on the ground that you know doesn't belong to you and take it, or whatever it is. There are all these little ways that we, just because we are imperfect, perfect people, that we still create this, no matter how hard we're working at it or trying. The idea is to minimize. So when you do, so when you have a situation where, or blockages like you were talking about, like you're raised in a household where, you have sort of a lack mentality and you think, oh, I'm not going to be successful, or I can't get nice things, or whatever it is, another way of utilizing this is to kind of step in and say, all right, I'm going to handle the energy of the situation. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to erase the energetic imprint of whatever this negative thing is, whether it's an idea that's holding you back, whether it's doubt, whether it's fear. I saw a wonderful brave lady the other day who just kind of like took this leap, and she did her first Facebook Live, and she was just so raw and just so honest and truthful, and she was just like, this is hard right now, like I feel very nervous about this. But there had to come to a point before that where, the fear and the doubt was there kind of keeping her from doing that, and she overcame it. So one way that you can sort of get rid of that more quickly and work yourself up to where you want to be more effectively is this technique. So picture a whiteboard, like a dry erase board that you take notes on. So just picture a whiteboard. Then you tap your crown, or if you're better at visualizing multiple things at once, you can just leave your attention on the crown. Focus on the whiteboard. You don't have to have a real one. Actually, it's best if you don't. Don't try to do this with a real one, because that'll cross other energetic principles. But just visualize it. Now picture whatever the situation is on there. If you have doubt, if you are worried, if you have negative thoughts around money, if you think money is the root of all evil, and if you have money, you're going to do bad things, you're not going to accumulate money, right? Because you're going to have this energetic block around it. If you have a fight with someone, don't put that person on there, but think about the energy surrounding the fight. Think about the way you responded or the way that they responded. Think about how the whole situation was handled in a way that you think was not necessarily appropriate. Picture it on there. You have the whiteboard, you picture the thing you want to get rid of. So let's just all do this together, all right? So we're talking about money, and who doesn't want more money, right? So picture the whiteboard. Now think about any thoughts that you have surrounding money that don't serve you. Do you think that money is bad? Do you think that there's never enough money? Are you worried about money? Do you doubt your ability to create a steady income source? All those things, just kind of visualize those thoughts on there. You can do it as like keywords or whatever works as a visualization for you, right? So it's on there, it's on the whiteboard. Tap the crown, bring your attention to your crown. You're going to take your hand and just keep your fingers together, be more successful than this. And you're just going to erase, like you're erasing that board from top to bottom. You just erase, erase, erase. You can close your eyes. You can have your attention on the crown. Okay. You can visualize violet light coming from your hand if you want. And you just erase it. Now, if you think it's going to take you like 50 times to erase that whiteboard, it's going to take you 50 times. If you just set the intention that maybe it's going to take 5 times or whatever, just do it until it feels different. You can do this, since we were talking about forgiveness, okay, think of a situation that you have with another person that you want to see improved. Even if you don't even like that person anymore, even if they're not even part of your life and you're just like, man, I can't stand that person. Think of that situation and put it on the whiteboard and then erase it. And you will start to feel as you do this, especially the more you practice it, you feel the energetic imprint starting to dissipate. So it's no longer as strong. It's no longer something that's as controlling or as impending in your life. So you're getting rid of it. And you can do this for anything all of the time. The more you do this, this is actually a form of purifying your energetic system. You're getting rid of what doesn't serve you in a very easy, very simple way. You're getting rid of it. So if you believe I'm not good at running a business, yet you feel like you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to get rid of that. Erase, 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 erase. So once you've gotten rid of things, once you've erased what you feel is holding you back or is an energy that you don't want to be present, picture what you do want to be present. So if you want a full bank account, if you want to have a certain type of job, or you want to have a healthy relationship with a certain type of person. Let's say you had a fight and you said things that you did not mean, or even if you meant them, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right? Picture that situation playing out in a healthy, loving way, no matter who was wrong. If you have an issue where you feel like, man, this person's like always really judgmental to me every time I say something to them, picture them saying loving things back to you, okay? So you have what you want to visualize, you have what you want to picture, you want to get rid of that doubt, so you're confident, you're strong, you're powerful, you know what needs done and you get it done, right? All these attributes, picture it on there. Now just pick, I know I'm jumping around from like different topics. Do one topic at a time. Do one thing at a time. Visualize it on there, hand on your heart, and you're just going to send energy to it. Just send love, send blessings to it. If it's a person, it doesn't matter how you feel from them, remember, because it's coming through you first. You send blessings, it comes through you first. You're blessed first. So you're blessing, may you have peaceful relationships. May you be healthy. May you be loving. May you be confident in yourself. May others not judge you, that sort of thing. If you, it's your business, picture your project that you're working on, just sending energy, just sending it, just say it. You can even just say, I love you. I love you. May this be successful. You're just sending this energy, visualizing energy coming from the heart, from the crown, through the hand, energizing it. Okay?
Basically,
so that's the way that we're sort of taking away and putting it towards. So Shirona's saying, I didn't get what I want. I didn't get these things back in the way I put them out or thought that they should have come back. Well, if that karma hasn't been used for something else already, if it, maybe it came back in ways that where you would have been in a position to lose your home, that karma was utilized so you didn't. You might not even be aware of that.
We'll have to wrap up because we're about 10 minutes over. Sorry to
All
interrupt.
Right. No, that's okay. I just it's a lot, it's a big topic, so.
I know. I feel like we could go on and on about it, but.
Yes, absolutely.
When you did that exercise on Monday when I saw you present to a group of people, I actually felt a lot lighter after doing those exercises. And I just want to remind anybody who may be listening, you may feel uncomfortable with certain parts, like, it may sound really silly to send violet light or to tap your crown chakra or something, and you don't even know what that means, and it sounds weird and scary. So I just want to let our listeners know that if you sort of like modify it so that you're comfortable, I think that's a good thing to do. You're still able to transform the way that you're feeling about something. And when you transform the way that you're feeling about something, then you start aligning and resonating with exactly what you do want to see, which is why I think visualization is so powerful, because it literally changes our feeling fabric, our emotional fabric, and then we align with the same.
Well, and even if you don't want to think about it energetically, just think of it as mental reprogramming. If every time you think about that person that you have a problem with, you're like, I hate that person, blah, 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 and you're so upset, and you start going, well, I don't really believe this, but I'm just going to erase, and then I'm going to picture what I wish had happened or how I'd like to see that relationship go, and I'm just going to hold my hand here and say I'm blessing that person. It's still reprogramming your mind. No longer are you, I hate that person, I hate that person. Yeah. You're, hey, you know what? I that doesn't bother me anymore. I don't have to feel that anymore. And good things for that person, which is good karma back to you.
I absolutely love that, because for anyone who's like a Christian out there and believes in what the book of 1 John says, there's no fear in love, because fear has torment. And basically what you're doing here is you're taking something you may be fearful about in some way. Something is making you fearful. And you're actually transforming it into something that's about love and compassion. And that being said, Amy, you are leading a compassion challenge for the next 21 days, starting the 11th. Can you please quickly explain this and how people can find out more?
Okay, so if you want to generate good karma, get involved in this. We are doing a 21-day compassion challenge. There's a Facebook group, or you can look it up through my business page, which is Be Radiant Inside and Out, or the Kids Club page, Be Radiant Kids Club. And basically, in summary, what you're going to do is you're going to get a container, any type of container. Hopefully it's on camera. Doesn't matter what it is, right? And you're going to find something small that you can fill it up with. It could be whatever you want. It could be pennies. It could be like tiny little pom-poms or marbles, or, it could be plastic. It doesn't matter. You're just going to find a container. And what you're going to do, the challenge is every single day you fill that container. Every time you do something kind, some random act of love and kindness, every time you do something compassionate, you put it in there, right? So you can even think about that visually as your bank account, right? You're adding to it. And the more that you do this yourself, the more other people around you are like, what are you doing, right? Like if you're doing this at work, or do it with your family, or do it with a group of friends. But it's, again, with the idea that as you give, you're receiving, not just in creating sort of that karmic bank account, but it's passing through you first. And as you do that, you uplift your own energy. You make things better and more loving for you. You feel more loving and kind. And you generate more mindfulness and more awareness. Mindfulness of how things feel inside of you when you act certain ways. Awareness of how it affects the people around you when you do that. So you just fill it up. And then as that container gets full, get a bigger container. Challenge yourself. How much can I do each day? Now, don't make this so like overwhelming that you're like, oh, I hate my life right now because I'm trying so hard to do nice things for other people. Like, it's supposed to feel good. And the more that we are mindful, the more we are aware, the more that we can have this compassion to share with other people. They've been doing the compassion games in prisons and schools where they have acts of violence, and through using these random acts of kindness and having, like a reward system for that, where it's more important to be doing for others, they've actually ended the violence in these places where they used to have daily acts of violence and constant problems. They've actually completely changed the entire setting of those situations.
I absolutely believe that too.
It's amazing how it works.
I haven't officially started the compassion challenge, which Shirona and I definitely want to do with you, but I have started sort of trying to transform situations by doing acts of kindness just to the people around me that I care for. And I've been finding that I feel much more confident in my life. I don't even know how that's related, and we don't really have time to talk about it, but I've definitely
you're not waiting for life to happen to you. You're saying,
right,
this is the energy I put into it. And you start to get it back. And that doesn't mean that just because you're nice to a person, they're automatically going to be nice to you. But there could be that random person down the street who goes, hey, you know what? You look amazing today. Look at you.
Yeah.
It comes back in different ways, but the energy of it is still the same.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today. I really love the practicality and that you just the techniques that you put out there. So just wanted to remind our listeners to go to BeRadiant.com to find out more about this compassion challenge, which Shirona and I will be trying, and hopefully it's
Be Radiant Inside and Out, actually.
Okay, thank you. Be Radiant Inside and Out.
Yes.
.com. The other one, I was just joking. So.
Yeah, don't. I think that's a church, actually. You can go there too if you want. If that's
checking to make sure everybody was still listening, and you apparently were. So you get extra points for that, Amy.
Yes, I listened. Other people will listen to me, right?
Right. All right. So I hope everybody's able to put some of these into practice, and just thinking. I mean, we all know kind of what you sow, you reap, but just think about specifically, you can specifically put out something and you specifically get that thing back. Play with it, try it, see what happens in your life, and see how it affects you.
And if you need more help with more specific techniques, because everybody's situation is different, you can always reach out to me. We can set up a session and really focus on finding what is the best way to Kriya Shakti this energy back to you in the way that you want it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amy, and have a great week. We're looking forward to the Compassion Challenge.
All right. Thank you. You too, Jessica. Bye.
Bye.